Hello, and welcome back to Sowing Seeds with Nia W. Today, I'll be interviewing Colleen Farwell. Colleen, if you want to say a few words about yourself.
Hi, I am Colleen Farwell. I am an Indigenous author. I was born and raised on the Crow Nation in Montana, and I wrote the children's book, I Will Carry You.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. So I'm just going to get right into the first question, which is, what inspired you to write I Will Carry You?
I've always loved creative writing. I took creative writing in college. I love poetry. I love Sandra Cisneros. And after I was still in Hanover, New Hampshire, where I went to college, and I was applying for a job at a library, and I was going to be working with students and children, small children. And they said, well, we want a writing sample. And so I sat down and was like, I don't know how to write for kids. Like, I didn't understand what they were asking of me. So I had 3 children at the time. And so I just thought about them and just how beautiful they are and how and out came this poem. And then I call my friend Daryl and I'm really excited. And I say, Daryl, I wrote this poem, and I tell him why. And I read it to him and he said, Colleen, that's really beautiful, but they want to know you can write for grants. So then I just had this gorgeous poem. It's just so beautiful. And a couple people had pushed me to have it published with a publisher. And I was very hesitant because I knew that once I turned it over, I would have no control over the illustrations. And being Native, I really wanted to include my experiences in the book. And so I just kind of forgot about it. And then years and years later, 6 kids later, well, I had 6 total, I bumped into Tylin. Tylin and I had a meeting, and we met in Santa Fe. And I recited it to her over dinner. And she just said, this has to be in the world. And we just worked together, and here it is. So that's the story of the book.
That's so beautiful. So I also want to keep talking about the book. So what was the process behind writing the book?
That is hard to describe. First of all, it was so long ago. And second of all, it was just, it's funny. I heard neighbors talk. Of course, I'm in New Hampshire. I'm far from home. And I was walking down the road one time with the kids, and we would go for these little walks. We kind of lived in this really pretty area of Hanover and kind of quiet. But I had a neighbor, and we were both kind of off the road, and she was coming down her driveway, and we were talking, and she said, I love my kids, but there were times when I just wished I could put them in the freezer and kind of take them out when I was ready. And it really struck me as I never felt that way about my kids. Right. And I just, and so it was kind of in that moment, I think, and really thinking about what motherhood meant to me and what my children meant to me, and how I just wanted to cherish every moment. And I knew someday they were going to be gone. And I just always wanted them to know that even when they're not with me, I would never put them down, right? There's just that kind of sentiment when you were a mom. And so I think those thoughts were kind of behind the writing of the book, for sure.
I heard you talk about this a little bit, talking about wanting to have control of your illustrations because you were Indigenous. So I was wondering, how does being an Indigenous woman impact your writing?
Oh, I think it impacts it wholly. I think, it's not something that you ever put down. I hear people talk about their lives and how I do this job and I have to put on this hat, and I do this thing and I have to put on this hat. And I think being Indigenous is not something that you can that you ever put down. It's not something that you can set aside. It's something that you carry with you all the time. And so it has always affected my writing. There's a very spiritual connection in our culture to kind of all things, to the earth, to other creatures, to humanity. And I think that you don't ever put that down. So it just kind of always comes through in what you write. But it's also very interesting. And, when I read writers from other cultures, when there's also something very universal in poetry and very moving. And I think sometimes we will take something differently because of who we are. And I think that's the beauty of poetry and writing.
That was such a beautiful answer.
Thank you.
So this is our last question for today, and it's about, again, your writing. So I was wondering, what are other topics that you'd like to explore in your next works? Or if you even plan to have some more works, if this is kind of like a one-time thing.
This is a great question. So We Are the Seeds did a Gathering Seeds project, and I was selected as one of the artists, and it was just amazing. And we had to write 4 poems over 4 weeks, all with a different theme and all with a different beats per minute. And that was just amazing. I hadn't really sat down to write in a long time. When you're a mom, you just don't kind of take that time for yourself. And so to have to make that time and to create, it was just an amazing experience. And so now I don't know. I had started writing a book in college, and I would love to finish it. Just about growing up at home, my reservation, just all of the weight of it, the lightness of it, the spirituality, the beauty, the torture, the pain, all of it. And now I'm like, I always wanted to revisit that, but now I'm kind of on this poetry kick. So I don't know what's coming next. I don't know if it's going to be the book or if it's going to be maybe a book of poetry. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Thank you so much for coming in today and doing this interview. Your answers I think all of your answers are so beautiful. And I really want to thank you for coming out to our show today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.